Hello guys, and welcome to Gas City Gaming's set review of Amonkhet. In this video we'll be taking a look at all the green cards in the set. Now keep in mind as you're watching this, we're going to go through the cards in kind of a limited context, so in your drafts, in your pre-releases, we're going to be judging most of the cards based on that. If I think something is good enough to make a impact on one of the constructed formats, I'll mention that at the time, but mostly in that limited context. Now keep in mind as well, I'm not like a GP champ or top 8 competitor or Pro Tour player or anything like that. I'm just a guy who really enjoys the game. I've been playing for a number of years now, and just want to help spread the word out on YouTube, spread my ideas about what I think about some of these new cards. Love to hear back from you guys as well. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the videos and these cards as well. So we'll get right to it. Our first green card from Amonkhet that we'll be taking a look at is Benefaction of Rhonas. It's 2 generic mana and a green for a common sorcery. It says reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card and or an enchantment card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. So, I don't know how I feel about this because it puts the rest in the graveyard. If you're playing maybe a green-white deck with a lot of embalmed creatures, I'm okay with this. Especially in limited, going through, a 7th of my deck with this. I feel a little nervous about that. It is, look at the top 5, especially if you have like some really good sorceries or instants in your deck. This makes me a little nervous to play that. You can build your deck so that this is good. Granted, you can, like white, for example, a lot of their removal is enchantments, but if you hit an impeccable timing in it, or if you need a land with it, and you get the best 1 of 5 and you throw the rest away, essentially. So if you're playing white and you have some embalm cards in there, you can put those in the graveyard and you're okay. But I feel like in a lot of cases this isn't as good. It's not like the green bring back spell from Shadows or Eldritch Moon. It's not that good, so I'm not particularly high on Benefaction of Rhonas. Binterblade Warrior is generic mana and a green for a common Jackal Warrior. Jackal! Okay. You may exert Binterblade Warrior as it attacks. When you do, it gets +1/+0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. So it turns into a 3/2. This is a good card for your red aggressive decks, your green-red aggressive decks, because it attacks usually as that 3/2, and it attacks confidently into a bigger board because of the Death Touch, right? So I would play a Binterblade Warrior or 2 in my kind of aggressive red-green decks. Cartouche of Strength, possibly one of the best cartouches, if not solidly the best cartouche. We'll find out in a second. But 2 generic mana and a green for a common enchantment aura is Cartouche. Enchant creature you control. When Cartouche of Strength enters the battlefield, you may have enchanted creature fight target creature an opponent controls. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. So, you play our Jackal buddy, for example. He becomes a 3/3, fights their 2/3, and swings through for 3, maybe 4 if you exert it. Right? Pretty good in aggressive decks, good in just green decks in general, because this is green's removal is usually fighting. Unless you're a flying creature, it's usually fighting that's green removal. I would probably play as many Cartouches of Strength as I can get. Because, I'm going to play my big stompy things, they're going to fight your things, and then they're going to have trample and crunch in for a bunch of damage. So I'm solidly going to say that the green cartouche is the best. I would play as many as I can get my hands on, for sure. If one has a chance at getting into standard, this is it. Champion of Rhonas is 3 generic and a green for a rare Jackal Warrior. You may exert Champion of Rhonas as it attacks. When you do, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, and it on its own is a 3/3. So, your real big expensive stuff? You want to play that for free? Sure. Even if the champion here is going to die, still a really good effect. Do you want to turn your 3/3 into a 7/7 hexproof? We'll see a little later on. Okay. Do you want to turn it into a god? Okay. And even then, maybe you turn this sideways because you can play your big thing for free. Maybe you can pump this up and let it live and do it again in a couple turns. Oh my goodness. So Champion Rhonas, it's a rare, but I'm definitely glad to play in anything I can play green in. And it's a single green as well, so it's even splashable. Channeler Initiate is generic mana and a green for a rare human druid. It's a 3/4. Oh my goodness, stats! Wait for it. When Channeler Initiate enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. Tap, remove a -1/-1 counter from Channeler Initiate, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So you can do this a couple of ways. For example, if you're playing the green-black deck, you can put this on that 1/1, then when it dies you get a zombie. You can put all the counters on him, even though he dies after the first one, you can put all of them on him. And then you have a 3/4 for 2 and a 2/2 zombie. That's pretty good. Or if you need the mana ramp, you can put the counters all on Channeler Initiate and just use it as your ramp creature as well, and it continues to get bigger. Good early for your ramp, good late as just a really efficient mana use. I'm a big fan of Channeler Initiate for sure. Colossapede is 4 generic mana and a green for a common 5/5 insect. What you're looking at is what you get. Awesome target for your Cartouche, your green Cartouche. Great target for that. You get 6/6 trample that kills something for you. Seems good. I'd play 1 or 2 of these on my 5-drop slot for sure. Just that big old vanilla creature is just what you need sometimes. Crocodile of the Crossing is 3 generic mana and a green for an uncommon Crocodile with haste. It's a 5/4. When Crocodile of the Crossing enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. Again, you might want to shrink one of your smaller things, because this guy in your green-red aggressive decks is awesome. 5/4 haste. Really good. Again, another really good target for your Cartouche. No big creature is a bad target for your Cartouche, to be honest with you. So, really big fan of Crocodile of the Crossing in your big aggressive decks. Defiant Greatmaw is 2 generic mana and a green for an uncommon hippo. It says when Defiant Greatmaw enters the battlefield, put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. Because it itself is a 4/5 in undercosted creatures that let you put counters on things. Whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on Defiant Greatmaw, also on this guy, remove a -1/-1 counter from another target creature you control. Now you don't move those to Greatmaw; they just disappear. Right? That's why I was saying our green-black decks, if you go back and watch the black set review, green-black decks really like these -1/-1s, and if you can get a couple of these guys, these Greatmaws, they're going to be entering with the counters because they're going to suck them off of another creature and just eat them because they have a Greatmaw. But yeah, I'm happy playing a couple of these guys, especially in those minus counters matters decks. Say that 5 times fast. Dissenter's Deliverance is a generic mana and a green for a common instant. It says destroy target artifact. It has cycling for 1 green as well. Like I said earlier in our red set review, I don't think there's enough good artifacts in this set to main deck this, but definitely a good sideboard card for you. Just destroys, if they do have a good artifact, kills it, and if you don't see it, cycles for a card. Nothing wrong with that either. Exemplar of Strength is generic mana and a green for an uncommon creature that's Human Warrior. It's a 4/4 for 2. Again, wait for it. When Exemplar of Strength enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. When Exemplar of Strength attacks, remove a -1/-1 counter from it, and if you do, you gain 1 life. So it's going to attack as a 2/2 and gain you a life. So it enters as a 1/1 on turn 2. It attacks as a 2/2 on turn 3. So for me, this is something I want to play like my red Cartouche on. That makes something unable to block. And that makes it pumps it a little bit bigger as well. So a good target for that, or any pump spell, until you can get, once you attack 2 or 3 times with it to get all the -1 counters off of it, then it's going to be really good. Again, card I like in your green decks in general, because it's good early, good late, because it can gain you life, and it's just a decent blocker, and it can suck up some -1/-1 counters from our other creatures. Or like our Greatmaw can suck up the counters off of this guy. So I do enjoy the Exemplar of Strength. Giant Spider, good old Giant Spider. Love me a Giant Spider. As you can imagine, green's weakness is flying. Giant Spider helps. 3 generic mana and a green for a common creature. It's a spider. It is reach, and it is a 2/4. You want to include 1 or 2 of these in your green decks if you don't have any flying. So like your green-red decks, you're not going to have a lot of flying. Throw in a Giant Spider or 2, because you're going to come up against somebody that's going to be playing that blue-white Flyers deck, and you're going to need help against that. So maybe main deck 1, keep a second sideboard if you want to really keep your curve aggressive. But Giant Spider, just the classic magic creature. Just always been a fan of it. Gift of Paradise, 2 generic mana and a green for a common enchantment aura. It says enchant land. When Gift of Paradise enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Okay, again, not up to my threshold of buying me a turn, but it's fine. And Enchanted Land has add 2 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool. So your ramp spells and your green-blue deck, maybe your green-red deck, building up to your really big stuff. This is definitely going to help you out. It's the gaining life. Helps you negate whatever damage you're going to suffer on turn 3 because you didn't play a creature. So that helps negate that. So it kind of buys you that damage back. And then helps you accelerate into something further. So because of that, it kind of, like if it didn't have that gain 3 life, it wouldn't be nearly as good because you're taking 3 to 5 probably, depending if you're on the play or the draw. But because it does give you that 3 life, it negates most, if not all, the damage you're going to take because you didn't do something. So I do enjoy Gift of Paradise, and I would gladly play one. Greater Sandwurm is 5 generic mana and 2 green for a common worm. Greater Sandwurm can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, so can't be chumped, which is nice. And it's a 7/7 for 7 with 2. I'd be fine playing this on top of my curve. 7/7, big old stompy thing. So again, you can cheat this guy out with our Jackal from earlier, our rare Jackal dude that lets you exert and dump something from your hand. This seems like something I'd want to do that for. Greater Sandwurm, again, this would be my curve topper in my green deck. Hapatra's Mark is a green mana for an uncommon instant. It says target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. Remove all -1/-1 counters from it. So I'm definitely playing, if I can get 2 of these, if I have a green-black deck that's really heavy -1/-1 countered themed, I'm definitely playing 1, if not 2 of these. Because A, it counters your opponent's removal or whatever they're trying to do to your creature. Like if they're trying to fight it, this says no. If you're playing against a green deck, if you're trying to bounce it or tap it with blue or white cards, it says no. It just gives your stuff hexproof, right? All aside that from the fact, if they're trying to kill one of your big creatures that has counters on it, not only does it defend that creature, it makes that creature bigger and better. So because of that reason, I would gladly play for sure 1, possibly up to 2 of these in my kind of green. If you're playing green, there's enough creatures in green that have -1/-1 counters where I would play 1 of these anyway. But if your deck is really built around those creatures, I would gladly play multiples. Harvest Season, 2 generic mana and a green for a rare sorcery that says search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is a number of tapped creatures you control, and put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So if you're playing a green-white kind of tokenish strategy, maybe a little more aggro token where you're going to have a lot of tapped creatures early on, I would play this, and it really helps you ramp. So if you have 3 tapped creatures, you get to go find 3 land, put an X number of tapped creatures, and put those field into the battlefield tapped. So your turn after you play this is going to be pretty good. Make sure you have a payoff for it though in your hand before you play this, right? Don't play it and then just draw more land. Haze of Pollen is generic and a green for a common instant. It says prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn. All combat damage, sorry. It is important. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. So if someone tries to burn one of your creatures, this would not prevent that. This prevents combat damage. So creatures hitting you, creatures hitting each other, prevent that. But it wouldn't prevent any fight, because fighting isn't combat, and it wouldn't prevent any burn or damage from being done like that. And it also just cycles as well. Sometimes you need a fog. I actually don't mind playing these in kind of my aggressive green-red decks, because I can swing all out, right? And they're like, oh, I have you dead on the comeback, and you fog. And then you have them, and then you swing back into them because they're all swung out. So I usually don't mind one of these, especially because it has cycling. I would be okay playing it because of the situation I just described. You can swing out reliably, not have to worry about anything coming back the next turn unless you're playing blue and counter this or something like that. And if you end up not having to use it, it draws you a card. Honored Hydra is a 5 generic mana and a green for a rare creature that is a snake Hydra. It has trample, and it's a 6/6. 6/6 for 6 with trample. Just pretty good. It also has Embalm for 3 and a green. Now, if you haven't heard what Embalm does, Embalm says pay 3 generic and a green, exile this card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a white zombie snake Hydra with no mana cost, Embalm only as a sorcery. So it then turns into, when you embalm something, it does the mummy thing. It wraps it up in the white cloth and sends it out. All these have tokens as well. Check out some of the token arts for them. They're really cool. They don't call them fat packs anymore. They call them something else. But buy one of those for this set, because it's gonna they give you all of the embalm tokens in it, and like promo, the full art lands they give you in it. Like, not the whole land pack isn't full arts, but I think you get at least one of each. And you get all the embalm tokens as well, so I'm definitely picking up a pack of that. When I open that, I'm going to open it and put it up here on the channel to show you guys those as well. They look so cool. But first of all, 6/6 for trample is fine. But this is something I'm also happy to discard to our Benefaction of Rhonas if we do play that, because I can then... So that costs 3, Benefaction of Rhonas, put this in the graveyard, play a 6/6 with trample on turn 4. I'd enjoy that. I'd enjoy that a lot. And even, nothing else, you play this, they attack with something, finish it off with a burn spell, okay, then you just play it again for cheaper, and do something else on your next turn. Hooded Brawler is 2 generic mana and a green for a common Naga Warrior creature. It is a 3/2 and says you may exert Hooded Brawler as it attacks. When you do, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Also, I don't know if we've gone over exert in this video, but exerting says as you declare your attacker, so okay, I'm going to attack with Hooded Brawler, and it's going to exert. You have to declare it at the same time. You can't say, okay, I'm going to attack, you declare blocks, okay, this guy's going to exert now. No, you have to declare it as you're declaring your attackers. So it gets +2/+2 until end of turn when it exerts. I want to exert this guy every time. Because it's a 3/2, it's not as good on defense, and if I can attack with a 5/4 on turn 4, and maybe even pump it up a little more past that, okay. In my aggressive green-red decks, I'm playing a couple of these dudes too. Initiate's Companion is 1 generic and a green for a common cat. It's a 3/1. Whenever Initiate's Companion deals combat damage to a player, untop target creature or land. Now, that's not going to often happen unless your opponent hasn't played any creatures, because I'm going to block this. If it's me, I'm going to block this, because I don't want you untapping, giving something pseudo-vigilance, or ramping into something, or anything like that. So I'm going to block your Initiate's Companion at every available opportunity. Even in my aggressive green-red decks, there's other 2-drops I'd rather be playing than this. Sorry, kitty. Manglehorn. 2 generic mana and a green for an uncommon beast. It's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact. Artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Like I said, to me, again, this is a sideboard card. Yes, it's destroying an artifact. Stable to a creature makes it better. But like I said, we've seen a lot better 3-drops at uncommon, even common, other than this as far as efficiency on creature-wise. Again, if your opponent is playing a few artifacts, like some good ones, I would definitely bring it in from sideboard, 100%, but I'm not going to main deck my Manglehorn. Naga Vitalist is a generic mana and a green for a common Naga Druid. It is a 1/2 that says tap, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. Now, one thing to note, if you're playing a 3-color deck, this doesn't help you fix. You have to already have, say if you're playing blue, green, white, you're playing Bant colors, but you're without your white, this doesn't tap for white. This taps for your green or your blue. Whatever lands you control could already produce, this taps for more. So it's not, this guy is not fixing, it's ramp. So very important distinction to make. But still though, in my green-blue decks, my green-red decks, I'm going to play this because it is ramp. Oashra Cultivator is a green mana for a common human druid. This is 2 generic and a green for that says tap, sacrifice Oashra Cultivator, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. It is a 0/3. So while this is on the battlefield, it's a decent blocker. It's a 0/3 for 1. We've had those before. That when it becomes irrelevant, you can tap, sack it to search for something, right? So you're usually gonna, they play their big 5/5, for example, or their 7/7, whatever they do. They're gonna attack with it. You're gonna say, okay, now is when I'm gonna block with this, and before it dies, I'm gonna tap some mana, tap it, sack it, and go find my land finally. So, but I would play this as my 1-drop in obviously less aggressive decks because it doesn't have any power. But in those green-blue style decks, usually that like this kind of effect, that ramp, I'm gonna play one of these guys pretty easily. Or girls, sorry. Well, this is probably one of my favorite card names of all time. Ornery Kudu, and you have to say like it's an Ornery Kudu. It's 2 generic mana and a green for a common creature as an antelope. I don't know how many antelopes we've had in Magic history. Somebody find that out and comment for me. When Ornery Kudu enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. Because again, paying 3 mana for a 3/4 is a little bit too good of a deal. So if this is on a board alone, shrinks it down to a 2/3 for 3. Which isn't great, but again, you usually want to dump those counters onto something you don't care as much about. Like our Awashra Cultivator is a great magnet for these -1/-1 counters. Because that's where you want to dump those. Or in your green-black decks as well. Things care about counters. You can remove counters, move them around. You can have a Scorpion that when it dies, something else gets all of its -1/-1 counters. You can dump it onto that. There's a number of different targets for our Ornery Kudu to put its counters onto. But it does have its spots in that kind of deck, those theme decks. I don't know if I'd play this in super aggressive decks, just because it is going to shrink some of your other stuff. But like the green-black decks, this thing definitely has a role, in my opinion. Pouncing Cheetah, 2 generic and a green for a common kitty. Has flash and it's a 3/2. Play it at the end of your opponent's turn and hopefully attack with it next turn. Flash it in the way of their 4/3 or 5/3 or something like that. Block it, kill it. You just played a 3 mana kill spell. In green, this is their green kind of kill spell. Either fight or blocking is how green kills things. So Pouncing Cheetah, I'd play a copy of it and be just fine with that. Prowling Serpopard. 1 generic mana and 2 green for a rare creature that is a cat snake kitty. It's a 4/3, and Prowling Serpopard can't be countered. Creature spells you control can't be countered. I'm going to play this just because it's an efficient creature. For 3 mana, it's a 4/3 that can't be countered. That's good. And creature spells you control can't be countered. That's good as well. If you're not playing blue, it doesn't really matter. If you're not playing against blue, sorry, it doesn't really matter. But this has been a solid, efficient creature for my 3-drop, so I'm just happy at playing it as that. And if I get the side effect of some of my creatures not being able to be essence scattered or canceled, then that's even better. But I'm not playing it because of that. Quarry Haulers, 3 generic mana and a green for a common camel. When Quarry Hauler enters the battlefield, for each kind of counter on target permanent, put another counter of that kind on it or remove one from it. So this only targets 1 permanent, keep in mind. So our other creatures like our 2/3, a 3 mana 3/4, this can remove its -1 counter when this enters, and doesn't put it on it, it just gets right rid of it. So in our black-green deck, I would definitely do this for that as well. Keep in mind, if you do pull a Planeswalker, this can ramp your Planeswalker as well. So you can like ultimate Liliana in 2 turns. Seems good. Granted, it would kill your poor Quarry Hauler, but still. Because counter on target permanent. So creature, Planeswalker, anything else with a counter on it would. Because our brick counters are counters as well. So anything with a counter on it, this can increase or decrease as you see fit. And because it gives you options, I would possibly play a copy if your deck revolves around counters. Rhonas the Indomitable. Rhonas the Indomitable. 2 generic mana and a green for our mythic legendary creature god. It's our last god that we've been through. We're going in Wooburg order. It has a Death Touch, is indestructible, and is 5/5. Rhonas the Indomitable can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. And for 2 generic mana and a green, you can give another target creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. So, you've played a 2 power creature, play this on turn 3, play something on turn 4 that it doesn't have 4 power, or if you didn't play something on turn 4, you can pump your 2 power creature and attack with Rhonas that has Death Touch and indestructible. Really neat thing with Death Touch, this is why Rhonas is, you may say, why can't it give itself trample? Because Death Touch and trample is really broken. Death Touch says, normally to destroy a creature, all you have to do is assign lethal damage to it, and then the rest tramples over. So with trample, your creature's 3 power, I'm a 5/5, I assign lethal damage, so 3 to your creature, and the rest tramples over to you. With Death Touch though, 1 damage is lethal. So you could have a 7/7/0. I attack with my 3/4, I do 1 damage to your 7/7 and 2 damage to you because the 1 damage that I did was lethal. That's lethal damage, and the rest tramples over to you even though it's not equal to the toughness. Sounds weird, I know, but that's why Trample Death Touch is a really good combo and why Rhonas can't give it to itself. Really good, aggressive creature, 5 damage, death touch, indestructible. Really good, could possibly see constructed as well, because green's going to have 4 power creature. Not have to worry about that. Again, I think the decks that are out there right now, the 2 big bad boogeymen, Saheeli combo and Marty Vehicles, might have to have some bans in order for this guy to see play, or we might have to wait for Hour of Devastation to get some more really good green creatures out. But Rhonas the Indomitable will see standard play, and obviously if I'm talking about standard and constructed play, just like all the gods, play it if you get it. They're all single mana cost, single colored mana costs, they're even splashable. Play them if you get them, folks. You're going to have fun with them. Sandwurm Convergence. This is kind of cool. 6 generic mana and 2 green for a rare enchantment. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. Like I said before, that is green's big weakness usually, because we just had our spider. That's the only thing we could have that could block the flying creatures. And it says also at the beginning of your end step, make a 5/5 green worm creature token. So this is kind of neat because when it comes down, it does 2 things: protects you from flying, and it makes something on the turn it comes down. You know, it's not on your upkeep make a 5/5. It's on your end step make a 5/5. So when this comes down, you will get a 5/5 that turn. As long as this stays. They don't have a destroy target enchantment. So when this comes down, you're probably going to get a 5/5, and then on your turn, you can be able to attack with it as well, because it will have been through your upkeep and lost to Summoning Sickness. So because of that, I like this, but you're going to be need to playing a few ramp cards. You're going to need to be playing your Naga Vitalist, your enchantment that causes your land to ramp, because 8 mana is a lot in limited. Even though I said it was a little bit slower of a format, it's still a lot, right? You're going to be playing 16, 17 land, so half your land has to be out in order to play this guy normally. So I would not put this in on its own unless I have some decent ramp cards as well, because I'm not always confident about getting to 8 lands. But other than that, if you can get to it, if you have some ramp stuff, I would love to play this Sandwurm Convergence. It just gives you that inevitability. Free 5/5s every turn, plus whatever else you got going on. Scaled Behemoth is 4 generic mana and 2 green for an uncommon Crocodile. It is a 6/7 with hexproof. So this thing ain't getting removed anytime soon. This thing is getting blocked, maybe, and that's it. Because with hexproof, if you're not familiar, this creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. That white dude that taps things can't see this. It's the whole John Cena. You can't see this guy. If you can't see it, you can't touch it. It can be blocked, mind you. It's like I said, that's the only way this is dying. Or because, you know, they can't take control of it with the red card, they can't exile target creature, they can't do anything to that, cannot be the target. You can still target it, which is nice. You can give it trample, you can mighty leap it, make it an 8/7 or an 8/9 flyer, you can do whatever you want, but your opponents can't. Because of that, you know, if this is, I'm happy playing, you know, 2 of these as my curve topper, if I'm in green, more than fine with that. 8 mana is a lot more than 6 mana, so I'd be happy playing a couple of these guys. Am I just 6/7? Come at me now, kind of thing. So, Scale Behemoth, I do like it. I would play a couple if I get them. Shed Weakness is 1 green mana. For a common instant, says target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and you remove a -1/-1 counter from it. So if your creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, this is Giant Growth, because it gives +3/+3. Permanent +1/+1, or temporary +2/+2, so it's Giant Growth. If you're playing that black-green deck where your creatures get -1 counters, this is Giant Growth. You play Giant Growth when you got it. Play Shed Weakness when you got it. Shefet Monitor is 5 generic mana and a green for an uncommon lizard. Has cycling for 3 and a green. When you cycle Shefet Monitor, you may search your library for a basic land card or a desert card. We'll see those if you watch the land video. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. It is a 6/5 on its own. So I would rather play the 6 mana thing. This might help us get there. So if I play a couple of the crocodiles, this could help us get there because we go search for a land, we draw a card, and we look for a land, so it could help us get a couple land. So I might play one of these if I'm really trying to ramp and just kind of use it as a ramp spell or an emergency creature if I have to. So might play one of these, but it depends on a lot of the rest of the deck. Sixth Sense is, hard to say that properly, green mana for an uncommon enchantment aura. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage is important, to a player, you may draw a card. No draw card and discard, no discard and draw card. You can draw a card whenever it hits something. There's the unblockable 1/2 in blue that I kind of want to put this on. So it's an unblockable 1/2. Yeah, it's going to ping in for 3 or 4 damage before it has to sit back and start blocking. But you put this on, and it's going to draw you 3 or 4 cards too, and that really helps you turn on the blue god that needs your hand to be full of 7 cards. So this helps replaces itself. Hopefully, the turn it comes down. First of all, and then just hopefully draws you 2 or 3 more cards as well. Man, that's pretty good for 1 green mana. I would definitely play a copy of 6 Sense in my blue-green deck. The green-red deck, for me, wants to do damage fast, not necessarily draw cards fast, but I want to do damage now. So I'd rather play like a pump spell rather than this guy for my red-green deck. But Spidery Grasp, 2 generic mana and a green. I love the art on this card. Common instant, untap target creature. It gets +2/+4 and gains reach until end of turn. So our good old buddy Giant Spider there is a 2/4 for 4. This turns a creature into a Giant Spider. It gives it +2/+4 in reach for 3 at instant speed. So if you only got 1 Giant Spider, I would keep one of these main deck as well, because this is kind of green's removal. It's going to block something and kill it. Or you're going to attack with something, they're going to try and trick you, you trick them back with this and kill whatever is blocking your creature, right? So again, see this as pump, yes, but also as green removal, right? So that's how how I classify my pump, is partially pumps, like potentially more damage, but it's usually going to remove a creature. Stinging Shot is a green mana for a common instant that says put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature with flying, and it cycles for 2. Hard to say whether I would main deck this. Like if you're playing against another green-red deck, they're not going to have flyers. If you're playing against blue-white deck, you will. For that reason, that's why I say main deck the Spidery Grasp or a Giant Spider instead of a card like this. If you do come up against that blue-white deck, bring this out of your sideboard. Bring it right now. Real good. But that's why I sideboard it and play the Reach Creatures main deck instead. Synchronized Strike, 2 generic mana and a green for an uncommon instant. It says untap up to 2 target creatures. They each get +2/+2 until end of turn. So you could use this for your exert triggers if you're playing green-white. You exert a couple creatures. It has, I believe, those are the Twin Blade creatures from our red set review on there. So you exert your creatures. They normally wouldn't untap, but you exert them. Your opponent declares a blocks. You Synchronize Strike. It does 2 things. It untaps, probably kills your opponent's blockers, and lets you exert again on your next turn as well. So this is a real getcha card. This is again, kind of the green removal or just green finish the dang game card. So, because this will do another 4 damage potentially to your opponent, and just really mess up combat in your favor for sure. I'd be happy playing a copy of this. Trial of Strength, our green trial, is 2 generic mana and a green for an uncommon enchantment. When Trial of Strength enters the battlefield, create a 4/2 green beast creature token. When a cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, return Trial of Strength to its owner's hand. For me, again, this is kind of, the either paying an okay rate for a 4/2, or just, you attack with all your creatures, you swing out, then you play your Trial of Strength after to have your blocker, right? And potential if you're playing, because again, the green cartouche is one of the best, and it's a common, so you could be getting multiples of it. So you play your 4/2, fight with your 4/2, bounce your Trial of Strength, or fight with something else even, and then get in with your 4/2, bounce your Trial of Strength, play it again. Get another 4/2 that you get to swing in with now because you fought something with your cartouche. And again, I know this sounds magical Christmas land, but I think it's going to happen more than we think, especially with the green one. Because like I said, if I get 3 green cartouches, I'm probably going to play them all. It's a green kill spell. Yeah. So Trial of Strength, again, I would play 1 or 2 if I get them. Vizier of the Menagerie. Is 3 generic mana green for a creature using Naga Cleric is mythic. You may look at the top card of your library. You can do this at any time you want. Not upkeep, you can do it anytime you want. Not reveal it, you can look at it. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. So you can look at it, it's a creature card, okay, cast it. Not any time, you have to cast it normally at your creature time still during your main phase. But still, it's an extra card in your hand essentially, right, that you can sometimes cast. And because you know, the majority, 75% of your deck in these kinds of formats are going to be creatures, you're usually able to cast, or not the cards in your deck, but the non-land cards in your deck. So almost half of the cards in your deck are going to be creatures. You're usually be able to cast that top card of your deck a lot of the time. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells. It's also a 3/4 on its own. This would have been fine as an enchantment, really, for like 3 mana. But the fact that you stapled it to a 3/4 for 1 more, that's good. Makes it a little more vulnerable to removal, but still, hey. I would play this 100%. You know, it's your green mana fixing. It adds an extra card, kind of pseudo card to your hand in green, and is just good. Like, I see no reason not to play this guy. This guy is definitely going to see constructed play. If your green deck becomes a thing in standard, just going into one of my commander decks, I don't know about you, but for sure, really, really, really enjoy Vizier of the Menagerie. And again, it's a single green. You can splash it. Really like that. They aren't going super heavy for a lot of the cards in this set. They like that's why I'm really excited to draft this. Not only play in sealed, but really draft this deck as well. There's a decent amount of fixing that can be done here. So, and our last green card of the set is Watchful Naga. It's 2 generic and a green for an uncommon Naga wizard. You may exert Watchful Naga as it attacks. When you do, draw a card, and it's a 2/2. This, I'm not super excited about. Like, this is a green-blue kind of themed card to me. On an empty board on turn 4, though, it's going to be hard to live. You might be able to draw a card out of it, unless, you know, you play the blue Cartouche and give it flying. Then you get to draw a card. Again, it's not looting, so it's better than looting, but you get to draw a card. So, again, this is a green-blue themed card to me. Would only feel comfortable exerting it in an empty board, but again, that's going to be hard to happen on turn 3 or 4. Give it some kind of evasion, like I said, like the blue Cartouche, then I'm more than fine with it. Then it's probably going to hit for some damage and be able to draw a card once, maybe even twice. So, but that's what I think of Watchful Naga. So that was our last green card of Amonkhet. Stay tuned, we do have our multicolored cards and our artifact and land video yet as well. But I would love to hear from you guys what you think. If you agree with my assessment of these cards, if you disagree, please let me know. We're filming this before the pre-release, so if you play any of these cards at pre-release, how do they do for you? I would love to hear back from that as well. If you drafted, if you did anything else, please let me know. I want to know how these cards ended up for you guys. Was I right? Was I wrong? What do you think? You can go ahead and throw me a follow on Twitch. .tv/Dave865, at Dave2619 on Twitter. Please like, share, subscribe, do everything to help spread the channel, help me out, help Magic in general out. You know, the more videos out there, the more eyes on this, I think the only better for the game. Well, so I hope you guys had fun watching. I know I had fun making this for you. Hopefully you guys have fun with the cards. I know I will, and have an awesome, awesome rest of your day, guys.